When the fires died down and the guests are full, the only thing left to do is enjoy the company. Best done with a fresh cigar and a cold drink. This is After the Cook.
Let's do it.
So today, it seemed like that was a cool experience on the boat. You're so, you're going to laugh at this, you're so worldly to me. Like you've been everywhere. It seems like you've been places and have done things. So when I see an honest expression from you, like I saw today, where you were enamored with the boat and
Yes.
not the boat, but the experience being out on the water, the foliage, the birds, the reptiles, the dolphins we saw. It seemed
Yes.
like it was a cool experience to you.
So something that I don't play off too often is that I come from nowhere, right? I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, and I'm proud to be from Edmonton, Alberta, but Edmonton, Alberta, in a nutshell, is like Timbuktu
Right,
to the rest of the world.
right.
And to be on these back coastal inlets
Yeah. In a coastal waterway for those people that are local.
coastal waterway in Florida, it's like the scene from Dexter or the scene from one of those
Right.
shows that I've watched.
Right.
Never in my life did I ever think I would see a bank of mangroves. Never in my life did I think I would see like a nesting place for the diamondback terrapin or all of those wild condominiums with massive boats parked out front.
That they're never there. Debbie and I have lived here now almost 2 years. We're up and down all the time.
Yep.
Well, never, maybe strong, but it's funny how
It was
you see
amazing.
that stuff. Yeah.
It was amazing to see that because I've never seen it I've only ever seen it on TV. So to be able to float down there and be like, I am now a part of this. This will now, every time I see it on TV, I'll be able to relate
Right.
to being in a place like this, much like when we were in Vegas.
Yeah, that was cool seeing you. I mean, that's another thing. Like you think Mel, you think, oh, God, babe, Mel invented Vegas, and then to see you at Vegas
For the first
soaking
time.
Vegas in with your eyes, your
the
expression,
first
the
time.
way it was pretty cool. Fremont Street. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
And the next time we're there, you and I are gonna zip line
Oh,
over
buddy.
Fremont
Oh,
Street.
so deadly.
And that's awesome. And so, not to sound, but I feel paternal in a way, and also fraternal, and just we're brothers. We have a great relationship.
Yes.
So, you're like, and not to equate you with the child, but the fraternal or the paternal part of our relationship. It's
Yes.
like we were together. This was all new to you, and now you're branching out. I heard you're going to Australia. You went to the American Royal. You're like you've left the nest.
Yeah.
You found your own way, which is terrific.
It's definitely starting to build up. We're Sydney, the first week of May, we booked in to
Yeah.
go to meat stock in Australia. It's going to be insane because I've never been to Australia. I've never been like anywhere.
The
So
scene in Australia is
It's banging.
huge.
It's banging.
Huge. It's really good.
I cannot wait to sink my teeth into that and see what that has
Didn't
for
we
me.
meet somebody that's a big somebody in meat stock when we met
Yes.
Christina
Yes,
Fitzgerald?
we met Jay,
Yeah.
who is the curator of meat stock.
Right.
We
And
met
he was
him.
with his wife.
That's
I
right.
believe, and they were.
That's
yeah.
right. So Sugar Fire Barbecue,
Right, yeah.
we met them,
Right.
and also Loot and Booty. They won at the American Royal, and they are putting on a class at that same meat stock, and it all ties in together. It's
So
amazing.
what are you doing? I know you're bringing our Al's with you, and it's so you're going to be working in a live fire environment on
Yes.
his grills, or
I believe we're going to be piggybacking off of Australian groups that are going to take us in, and we're going to help them out showcasing their stuff
right?
and bringing live fire and traditional barbecue up into a huge queue. So it's going to be amazing. I believe Black Barros, I believe I'll be working with them or someone similar to them, and they are like a staple Texas-style barbecue in Australia.
Right.
So deadly people there, and I can't wait to see whatever flourishes from that.
Are you gonna? I'm assuming it's your first time to Australia.
Yes, it is.
So, are you gonna stay a little longer or go a little earlier to get some sights?
For
and
sure, a
stuff
week.
in?
For sure, going to do a week, and yeah, try and get some fishing in and stuff like that. And it's going to be
you're being coy, but I have to imagine you're going to go out into, they call it the bush or the outback. You're going to go out in it.
Go on the back 40.
Yeah.
And go on the back 40 and knock something in the head.
Do you hunt kangaroo? I don't know.
It.
Is that legal or not? I don't know. I don't know these things. Don't write in put bat,
No. I won't punch a koala, but I might punch a kangaroo.
Well, I've never heard yes or no to this question, though, to be direct, I've never asked it.
Awesome. I'm excited.
But a koala could be mean. I mean, what if you went and thought it was cute and picked it up and it looks like it has claws? It's a bear. It's not a koala cat. It's a koala bear.
This is what I say to everybody. No one knows what a penguin tastes like. I'm just saying. Sure, they look amazing and cute and cuddly, but they might taste like Wagyu steak for all we know. Just going to take one of us to crack one open and see. So
I'm fairly certain that that's on the protected list somewhere. I'm sure that now, I mean, and not to mention Yellowstone again. But
yes, this is.
But it's all about search engine optimization. But seriously, it's an endangered species, dude. They tag those little guys. They make movies that Morgan Freeman does the voiceover for.
If there's a way that I can eat one, though, I'm gonna try probably. So there's that.
Should I bring up our discussion earlier?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's you could, I guess, since we're on an open mic. I guess you could. That's.
I think that certainly would be. Offensive to some.
My dad told me to try everything once, and so far he's steered me in the right direction, so I tend not to shy away. Wherever I am, if you bring me out to India to do some kind of fantastic barbecue event and you have, like, who knows, chilled monkey brains like Indiana Jones or whatever, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to try it because...
It's difficult being the co-host of the show because sometimes you say something that's so funny.
I'm just saying. Chilled
and
monkey.
I'm trying not to laugh.
Do you remember Temple of Doom?
Keep my act together.
Do you remember Temple of Doom? Chilled monkey brains.
Oh, you know where that came from, though? Have you ever seen the snuff flicks like Faces of Death?
Yes.
Well, so that was like in Faces of Death, too, the actual...
Yes.
And that came out like a few years. It was like all the rage when I was like a junior high school.
I saw them all. Yeah.
And everybody was talking about that, the monkey brain thing. And then it was like, there was no social media back there, but it was viral for back then. And then all of a sudden it made it into pop culture.
Well, if it's not a delicacy over there, make it one and invite me over because I'd like to try it. And that's all I'm going to say. Just want to check one off the old bucket list. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it like you said earlier, you couldn't miss an opportunity to give a shameless plug.
That's it.
But your Heartbeat hot sauce would be really a terrific pairing to monkey brain, I would think.
There you go.
The umami bomb that you get from that, the well-balanced acidity and heat would be, I would imagine, with a neutral flavor monkey brain type of thing. I'm assuming it's neutral flavored.
It is. It is very neutral flavored. And that shit is good on anything.
And not in India. Indian would have curried monkey brain.
I think they might take to that shiitake, though. If I brought it over there, I think they might...
It would have a hard time not being well accepted into any culture.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
It's an East-West tie-in.
The whole 9 yards. It's the Heinz 57 of the international market right there. That's... I do love my hot sauce. I'm not going to lie. I eat it myself, like, every day. And I appreciate you digging into it all the time.
It is by far, I don't talk about this often, but my favorite thing to cook outside of barbecue or live fire grilling is breakfast stuff. I just love breakfast stuff.
And you've proven your point. And in this visit, let me tell you, we've had some amazing breakfasts.
I posed their first day here that we were going to use some of the leftovers from the cook that we had the night before.
Anywhere, Snake River Farms.
And I was going to do like a frittata.
Yeah.
And Mel, I think he was kidding, but was ribbing me all morning long about cooking a frittata. So I threw down today.
It was fantastic. It was probably one of the better breakfasts I've ever had in my life.
The reason I brought up my love of cooking breakfast is because your hot sauce is by far the best hot sauce that I have found that goes with breakfast foods, breakfast burritos, frittatas, omelets. It is the perfect breakfast food hot sauce, which is, to be direct, a primary vehicle for my hot sauce usage.
Well, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. A ton. A lot of heart and soul went into it. It's a blessing. It's really hit the market well. And, yeah, I'm really proud of it. So I appreciate that.
It's true. Now I was going down the rabbit hole in my head, like we should make a dark side hot sauce, béarnaise sauce, like with your sauce.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did you ever think that you'd have two Canadians out on a pontoon boat showing them a side of the world that they've never seen before?
That specific scenario, no, but I will answer it with the first things that came to my mind. First of all, you and I have met, obviously, but Jordan I just met. But the cool thing about it is I feel we've worked together virtually now for so long, I felt like I knew him. So to answer your question more directly, I don't think about that scenario because I don't think of you guys as crazy Canadians. I think of you guys as friends and coworkers.
Well, that's awesome.
So like that. From that aspect, yeah. But when you look at it in taking a moment of gratitude, like how cool it is that people from different parts of the world, because you guys are on opposite ends of Canada. So you're probably, arguably, I mean, you may be closer to me, Jordan. I'm pointing to Jordan off camera, than you are together. So coming from really three corners of this great continent that we share, and coming together here to experience what we are experiencing this week to create this amazing content, this show is a blessing. It's a reason to have gratitude. And
100%. And that, you know what, this is going to segue right into, and I'd like to bring this up because we've never talked about this. I would like to tell you guys about the very first day that I met the Barbecue Buddha, Chris Sussman. This was 2018, Eggtoberfest in Atlanta, and they brought me out there on a whim. And I'm talking a whim. They weren't sure whether I was going to be on the team yet. They weren't sure whether they were going to invest in me at all. And they were like, you know what, sink or swim, last minute, come on out to Eggtoberfest, let's see what you can do. And they bring me out to Eggtoberfest, and I land out there. Tell them what you thought when you first laid eyes on me or when you first heard I was coming out.
So I'll say this to the audience, because many of you, I'm hoping, are new and don't know us from Adam or may have heard about us, one or both. But the very first thing I thought when he came into my consciousness on Instagram and social media was, this is an act. You know, this is shtick. Video's starting to become a thing, and this is what he's doing to get followers and engagement. And some version of that would be true, but it couldn't quite possibly be the actual real thing. And so I'm happy to tell you, new and old audience, that no, Mel is exactly as he is off camera as he is on. It's no act. And that is impressive.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty deadly. I walked in there. It was the first time I met you was the VIP dinner the night before. And Trompo King was there. There were a ton of people. Jack Arnold. It was a huge event. VIPs only, out in Stone Mountain, Georgia, right? And it was crazy. And Buddha came walking up to me and he shook my hand. He's like, "Hey, I'm the Barbecue Buddha, Chris Sussman. Nice to meet you. You're from Canada. Hey, you know, the whole 9 yards." And it was whatever. And then he went back out into his world of people and whatever. And I was working the crowd the way I do, and it was brand new to me. I didn't know anybody. But there was a ton of dealers and stuff that I had dealt with over the internet and whatever. And I kind of started carving out my own little way. And then he came back, and I was making my own, I was cutting my own teeth in that scenario. And then you came back and we started hanging out and we started, having a drink here and there. And
you and the poet, yeah. Rob, we broke bread hard that one night.
The Barbecue Poet. And There's a picture of us all sitting.
Yeah, Jordan, you got to dial this one up. That one of my favorite memories. We're all out
yes.
there hitting cigars pretty hard.
Yes.
Rob, Mel, and myself. Groups of people around the pool. We're all coming down from a great Eggtoberfest, and we're smoking cigars. And one of us notices the column right behind us says "No smoking." No smoking permitted or something. And then we all noticed it and laughed and took a picture smoking the cigars in front of the pictures.
Because we own that fucking place that night. And that's, I don't mean to be rude, but we did. We took over Stone Mountain, Georgia, and we owned it like kings. It was amazing. We partied until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we had to be up at 6. So it was a good time, and we definitely broke our bread that night, and we cut our teeth together. And the next day we
also, I mean, for me, and this is where the rumors of our relationship are going to just heat up.
Yeah.
But for me, that's where I noticed immediately the natural rhythm. I mean, it just was easy to play off you. I mean, you've got this great gift of being funny, and either you know it, but you let the other people around you not know that you know it, right? So you're like you're keeping off balance, like Steve Martin says. You never deliver the punchline and let people wait to laugh. You keep them off balance. You do a great job of that. But how naturally our ability to bullshit with each other
yes.
and with anybody around us, we could reality warp ourselves into believing anything and those around us, and it's a pretty good union. I hope it's conveying on this wonderful podcast.
100%. We can dish it out better than anybody else. That's been the way it was. So we had Eggtoberfest. The next morning we woke up in a fog of hungover business. I was honestly, the night before, I was crip walking across one of the stone walls that wrapped around the pool to Beastie Boys, and remember the Mexicans with the mezcal?
Yeah.
And I almost not that they would knife you or anything crazy like that.
No.
But I was partying in front of the Mexican Big Green Egg team.
Right.
Which was some heavy hitters from Mexico. And I went I just shot across the bow and said, "Hey, do you guys have any Carlos Santana to play?" They had a little boom box that they were playing like Bluetooth. And the big dog that was sitting there, El Presidente, he looks at me, he's like, "Because I'm Mexican, you think I have some Carlos Santana to play?" Right? And he was upset. He was visibly upset. And I looked at him, and I'm like, "Man, I'm from Canada. I don't know what you're mad about, but I'm telling you right now, I'm a snow Mexican to these guys as well. So I'm just looking for some Carlos Santana to party with." And his wife broke out in a huge ball of laughter. "The man just want to hear some Carlos Santana. Did you play the band?" And bang. Carlos Santana right now. We partied like crazy for another. Mezcal is flowing like a garden hose. It was, I love going to neat places, doing neat things with neat people. And these kinds of things that happen to me organically all the time. And I absolutely am blessed with it. So we partied.
Yeah, but if I may interject just for 1 second,
Yes.
because as this is a getting to know you episode.
And you.
People need to know me.
Yes.
By this point of the story, the cigar smoking and Rob, the two of us had gone to bed, and Mel, then his adventures continued. So a lot of when we do this show in the future, a lot of our stories will have a beginning and an ending that sort of overlap, but don't necessarily go at the same place. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. And you as the audience need to be comfortable with that as well.
He went to bed at 4 a.m. I went to bed at 6:30.
Right. I mean,
we both,
on that night, that's pretty much a fair statement.
We both met at 7:30 on the tarmac at the Big Green Egg event.
And you know what? And that's what I heard about you this Eggtoberfest is that, and I love that because regardless of the fame or the ability to work and be recognized in this world, which we're always lucky to have any of that, to have a work ethic, I think is the most
100%.
Important thing. And that's another thing I love working with you is that if Mel and I are in an event together, whether it's private or with Big Green Egg or somebody else.
Yep.
We're going to be there loading up,
Bright-eyed-
setting up,
bright-eyed
cleaning
bushy
up, and getting boats for samples.
Yes. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed first thing in
every
the morning.
day,
That's
no
it.
matter what we're doing the night before, me going to bed early and Mel staying out late or any of that stuff.
Yes.
It's always been like that from day one, and it will continue to be with us.
100%, brother.
Yeah,
100%. So the next morning we got together. We cooked 750 pounds of chicken wings. We cooked $30,000 worth of Snake River Farms. We fed.
All that meat was outrageous.
Look at me exaggerating. Not exaggerating. We fed half of Atlanta that day, like the flaming hot nuts kitchen that you could ever imagine, off of like 10 Big Green Eggs, 10 XLs. We did it. We did it with a smile. We had a blast. We partied until the sun came up the next night. And then this is when
the real magic happened.
That's
all. People are like, wow, this is a great origin story. This is like, I feel like I'm like at a Marvel movie. This is like an awesome, these guys are the next Ant-Man.
That's it.
But no, that is just the foundation of which the real story.
That's it.
And now we're going to break for a message from our sponsors. No, we're not there yet. That'd be cool if we did have a sponsor right here.
So Mel being the first time in the United States, I booked a couple of extra days. Super pumped to stay there, do whatever. Turns out
everybody goes. Saturday, everybody goes.
That's it. It's like a carnival. The entire place disappears that day. They're all gone.
And by this point, I had really emotionally had bonded with you.
100%.
Like you were. I mean, I knew this is where this was headed.
Yep.
And so we were all going.
Yep. And I was going to.
And he wasn't, and he didn't know that we were, and because we all didn't know each other yet.
Yep.
So
turns out, I was just going to hang out at the pool for a couple days before, and then bounce out from there.
Right.
Him and a bunch of the other influencers had lined up to go to Campbell Barbecue's house in Augusta, Georgia. Chris Campbell.
A couple hours away.
That's it. And they were going to go there and party and hang out and do like a big influencer meet.
We had Snake River Farm sent stuff there, Lobster Anywhere, Chris's Pizza People. I mean, it was a big cooking to do.
So Chris gives me an invite. He's like, well, if you're stuck here anyway, you may as well come up with us. And then I'll drive you.
Get out of the hotel. Rob will, they'll get the money back for the hotel. Come with us. We're going to go cook all weekend.
And this is where it happened. Chris and I spent 2.5 hours driving to a flea market where I almost bought a white-tip shark. I came very close to buying a white-tip shark.
And we don't harbor regrets.
No,
usually, since I've known you, the two of us have done everything we wanted to.
Jack Arnold was the guy that was like, we can't fucking put that on our feed. What are you talking about? And he was actually the voice of reason that day. Instead, he cooked a raspberry pie. But whatever, it is what it is.
But at that point in time...
Yeah, we're talking 2018.
At that point in time, it was... Well, no, at that point in time, Crazy Shark and all that stuff wasn't the hip thing to do. Jack was right.
We were going to do it, though.
We
were going to do it. So anyways, we did the flea market. We drove out there.
Now. Jordan should follow us guerrilla style.
Exactly. And catch and cook a white-tip shark. So in this
that's the promo for the hidden episode.
Let me talk to you about the drive out there to Augusta, Georgia. It was a long, quiet drive down the highway with no stops. Buddha and I were forced to learn about each other. And this is where hopefully you can
But you know what? Well, you know what though? Can I interject?
Yes.
One more time. So far I'm hanging with you, but forced is not how... Here's how I look at it. And you're getting to know me pretty well. Sometimes I need my people time, and sometimes I need my me time. Right?
That's right.
It's just the way I am. I need to recharge sometimes. And so I knew I was going to be locked with people time all weekend long because we're going with a bunch of other people cooking at a place we're all going to be doing video and pictures and all that. So it'd be arguable I'd be in a car with you going, I know him, but I'm just going to turn on the music and we'll make small talk and I'll just zone out till we get there. So it wasn't forced. I think it was a unique opportunity that you and I realized we had that we wouldn't have had otherwise. We took advantage of great opportunity. Quiet time, all by ourselves, no internet, no creating, just us.
Yep. No checking text messages, no nothing. We just drove. And this is where we dug into it. And Chris was like, how many times have you been in the States? And Mel said, none. Well, what are you hoping to gain from this kind of event? What are you hoping to... And we zipped into some very raw, right to the bone conversations. And my man, the Buddha, he instantly turned into like a brother kind of father figure for me. And he really dug into where my mind was at, where my heart was at, what I was hoping to accomplish. And me not knowing the stardom of influencer business that he was in, I knew him from Instagram. That was it. I had no backstory to all the irons in the fire that he had going or whatever. We were able to meet on a plane that like you could never do online or over email or anything. It literally had to be on a freeway in a rental on the way to doing something from something epic. It was the perfect like dirt, dust, grind storm to come.
And it highlighted this sort of unspoken communication we have now.
Yes.
We have all the time.
Yeah.
And, we kind of knew that in a way that allowed us to cut through bullshit.
100%.
And it was kind of like the saying, open your kimono and I'll open my kimono, right?
Yep.
And which I think at this point we actually
we
would have done too, but
Definitely.
metaphorically, absolutely.
So to cut to the chase, and this is going to be the clever part of this, I explained to him I have kids, I'm a journeyman welder, I work all day. I work
welding,
10, 12, 14 hours a day.
You did.
Then I come home and I do Instagram and I cook. Yeah. And I'm burning the candle at both ends and I'm burnt out and I'm angry and my heart is in the right place, but I can't find the time. I can't do whatever. And this man quotes fucking Tenacious D. Out of nowhere, he quotes Tenacious D.
The most appropriate response to that point in our conversation.
He's like, well, set the artist free. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm like, you've never heard of Tenacious D? I was like, Mel screams Tenacious D. He's Jack Black and KG all rolled up into one guy. And so I was like, of course he had not heard, didn't know.
He throws in like a mixtape and he plays me Cosmic Shame. And this is where hopefully our producer is going to cue the key chorus of this. So we'll just take a second.
Set the artist free. Yeah, we'll take a second.
We'll just take a second, and I'm just going to stare at you while we listen to it.
Can I stare at him while he stares at you? Here, I'll do that.
It's amazing.
Well, now you're staring at me.
No,
I'll stare at them.
And in a nutshell, I got the fucking message loud and clear to just let go. I got kids, sure. I got things that I have to pay for, sure. If my heart is in the right place and my hustle is right there, it's going to work. Set the artist free.
What I tell you, though, I said, man, you got to stop just showing the grill and the food.
Yeah.
You're hilarious. And this is like, I have stories and I know, and I could make stuff up. I'm fairly funny, I like to think. This is probably funny, me saying it. But Mel is like just naturally fun. I don't laugh at much. And Mel had me laughing the entire time. So I was like, dude, you need to put that on camera. You need to be yourself. You need to put that. People need to see that side of you. Now, you were training that way anyway, but I like to give myself like Al Gore claiming he invented the internet. 100%. I like to claim a little bit like I invented.
100%. No,
and by invented, I helped you find your voice to let everybody know who you are.
In all honesty, that was such an influential weekend for me. It literally changed the course of my life. And that's me being 100% honest.
Well, I said it then, and I'm saying it now, mostly so it's recorded, in case we're in court ever. Time-stamped and geotagged and all that stuff. I said it then, and I say it now. I would drop everything and manage you. Because you are, well, maybe not everything, but I'd drop a few things.
Yep. I love and appreciate you for it, brother.
Yeah, you're the real deal.
It's been amazing. Well, and I appreciate that. So are you, man. This is...
Oh, yeah.
It's been a beautiful, beautiful meeting. It's every time we get together, we change people's lives everywhere. And that's... This time around, we changed our producer's life. We brought Jordan out here.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Pod
think
Cabin is
the Pod Cabin.
We should have him as a.
We'll have him as a.
He should be a guest. And you know what?
This is.
If I was a hustler, like this young man right here.
That's it.
I'm doing a negotiation, so watch this. If I was a young hustler like this on an up and coming podcast like the one he's helping us to produce, I would do a freebie episode where he's the guest because he's getting the exposure. It's basically like an investment
100%.
In himself.
100%. That's it. We have to get big first, and then we'll.
But then if he does it now, then there's a part 1 and a part 2.
It is awesome though to bring someone into the fold of this. You know what I mean?
We worked well together. I think for 3 guys coming from
totally different
backgrounds, places, everything, coming together in a spot where we're on top of each other like we have been the last 4 days, and to still be here now at the end of this having fun and wanting to be around each other. I mean, we want to get real. You want to do the real interview, you know? I'm not old, but I'm feeling older, and I haven't been drinking, and I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired earlier. Not that early, but earlier. We were on a boat all day, and as Jordan's been making fun of me, saying it's funny you get tired riding on a boat all day. You're captaining, you're making decisions, it's mentally you're on, right?
Yeah.
So Mel saw it in my eyes. I was going to say, hey, I'm going in. I'm going to have an early night with Miss Buddha, which means I'm going to lay on the couch and watch TV and relax with my wife and then go to bed at a reasonable time, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And he was like, okay, that sounds good. And then he said, but we really should do the podcast.
We should shoot the podcast.
So here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah. That's it.
So this is a nice segue into the next.
We have a lot to cover in a short time.
We do.
And I want to make sure that people really want to know.
All right.
I mentioned earlier how you are who you are 100%. On and off the camera.
100%.
So let's dig into that. Who are you? Where did you grow up? What was life like for you as a kid?
Yeah. Born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta, which is like Timbuktu in the middle of nowhere.
All right.
Life was a bit rough. It's a weird thing, right? I've got a couple of siblings. They're a lot older than me, so I kind of had the only child feel, but with a couple of older children that were whatever.
Well, no, I mean you just say whatever.
Yeah.
There's clearly something there. How do you have a couple of older siblings? Are they
full
brothers, sisters? Or are they half?
Half.
Or are they your dad's half, your mom's half?
My mom's half.
Okay.
My brother and sister are like 15 and 20 years older than me.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I grew up with...
So were you the byproduct of the new dad and a starting over type of thing?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
This is it. So... when I was 2 years old, my favorite album was Kiss Destroyer.
Okay.
On LP, right? This is how I grew up.
So I don't know if you've noticed in the Shakedown Shack, like you don't really pay much attention about me.
Yes.
But if you did, you would notice in the Shakedown Shack there's a clock made out of Kiss Destroyer album, because that was my first and very most influential album.
This is
So
Kiss Destroyer was my first honest to God album that I've ever owned.
did you have a little LP player? I had like this little thing that was orange and it would fold up. You put the album on, the speakers built into the little record player.
I had a Marantz tube amp with Bose, big fucking Bose kicker speakers.
When you were 2?
Yes, they were my brothers.
Oh.
Right? And he sold dimes.
That's a sophisticated setup for a 2-year-old.
He sold dimes for a long time to get that, and then just bounced and left them to me, and that was where I...
Dimes as in dimes of illegal, illicit
whatever. That's
material. So that's the environment you grew up in.
I grew up in very bohemian style of growing up. My pop used to build hot rods.
Okay.
Growing up, I grew up half my life in the shop, right? Helping him build hot rods and doing things, and he had a lot of biker friends, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I kind of grew up on that style of growing up. I had like 55 uncles, they obviously weren't my uncles, but they were, this was life. And that's where I grew up in Alberta, which is pretty much a clone of Texas. It's like the northern Texas.
Right.
It's the same size as Texas, but it has like the same population of San Antonio.
Okay.
So it's a weird place up there, frozen for half the year.
So you have a cyclical type of existence up there. So you have life for a brief period of time, then hibernation for a brief period of time. So you have an ample opportunity to invent and reinvent yourself as you're navigating things at home and as a young man growing up in this environment.
Exactly. So that's...
What were some of those challenges? I mean, your dad, was he... at-home dad, hey, let's go play catch, or was he...
I never played catch. I never played any of that. He spent his entire time working on vehicles. That was it. So if I wanted to spend time with him, I'd go out in the shop.
Right.
If not, say la vie. My mom worked late shift all the time, so by the time I was 9 or 10, she would take me grocery shopping. And I began to cook for the family, myself, because there was literally nobody else to.
Right. I think you've told me before your dad had like one way he liked the steaks, and it was cooking it past the point of recognition, and that's it.
So he had a stint. He was in Tijuana or something like that, and he had the wickedest food poisoning you can imagine, and that was the end of him having liquid in meat. So my entire time growing up, every piece of meat I ever had no liquid in it.
Right.
So as soon as I was old enough to grab the tongs out of his hand, since then I took over cooking meat for the family, which was a godsend for everybody else at the table.
But not for him, I'm sure.
No, he would still cook his shit burnt.
So Dad, you're on your own.
Yeah,
I've got us. You take care of yourself.
When he watches videos of us, even now,
right,
cooking our steaks, he's like, "You guys are disgusting. You guys are horrible people for leaving all that juice." And he cannot wrap his head around. So this is how I became the griller of the family and whatever. And growing up in a Ukrainian family, huge family, I spent a ton of time with Bubba, right? My grandmother in the kitchen learning how to make sauerkraut from scratch in a rain barrel and whatever.
Right.
The old Ukrainian way of doing things. We always can everything, pickle everything. It's been really cool to convert that to what we're doing now. Having a blast with it. So
yeah, I mean, so the food comes from Bubba. Is it Bubba? Or Bubba.
Yeah.
And so, and really out of survival, not so much as eating or not eating, but survival from a palate perspective, like learning to like food other than just for sustenance. So that's on your mom's side. I think from your dad's side, that the welding, that really, I think, drove you scholastically in a weird way. That sort of propelled you into who who you became as this young adult with the skill to start a family.
100%.
So,
By the time I was 20 years old, I had a journeyman ticket at NAIT, which is our university of trades, at very young age to get a ticket. I nailed it. And here I am today with a journeyman certificate. Everything's fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything is above board.
I mean, we'll get here. We'll get here in a
Exactly.
minute, but it led to you building your own pit,
Correct.
Elvira.
Correct.
So I mean,
Correct.
you've
This
used the skill to help further the bridge into your barbecue life. But we're
Yes.
skipping ahead. We'll go backwards.
So being a young buck with a welding ticket, I instantly got jobs with oil field companies up there in Alberta. That's what you do. The oil trade is what you do. I built a ton of machines for finning, Caterpillar, big logging equipment, construction equipment, and then after that I got into stainless steel. And I absolutely love alloys, and I always look for the hardest of things to do, and I try and nail them. And in welding, it was the alloys. It was the crazy metals and mixing stainless, 316 stainless and stuff like that. So I got into that, and then I built and designed and repaired centrifuges. So that was my crowning achievement in welding. Was I worked for 10 years building and rebuilding, fabricating and designing centrifuges with engineers, with the whole 9 yards up there, Syncrude, Suncor, the whole 9 yards. It was amazing.
So I think they need to know this.
Yes.
Because you're not going to be the one to tell this.
No.
But you like to build the legend that you left welding in order to start your barbecue business. And again, I'm jumping ahead. We'll get there. But really, you left welding because... I can't even get this out without even cracking myself up. Because Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline.
That's right.
And you lost your job because he canceled the whole pipeline, and the oil sands can't get down to the Sunoco
because
yards.
you guys snuffed Trump. I lost everything, and everything went to the who's cow.
Right. So you were forced into a life of barbecue. So it was you really wanted to continue welding, but no more Keystone Pipeline.
You know what? To be honest with you, and now is a great time to drop this. I always knew I was destined for something else. I welded because it paid the bills. And I welded because I was good at it. But I always knew in my heart there was something else. And this is for you that's watching right now. I always felt in my heart there was something else for me. And every day just didn't feel quite right. And you overcome that every day. You lace your boots up. You get back to work. You do whatever. But you can feel it in your head and in your heart. And if you can guff up enough, you can pull enough sand, enough salt out of your boots. When I walked away from that, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life because that was a guaranteed paycheck. It was a damn good paycheck. And it was something that I was proud of. And my family was proud of. And when I jumped off that cliff, and it literally was jumping off a cliff into entrepreneurship and my own ship and being responsible for myself and giving away that safety net of a paycheck, which was going back to that episode with us and set the artist free and stuff like that. When I did that jump, it was the best decision of my entire life. Because days later, when I signed my first contract with barbecue, when I first did my catering gigs, when I first did whatever, I looked back on that, and every day that I laced my boots up was like doing a jail sentence. So for years, and I mean 20 years, 30 years, I was every day showing up to someone else's company, and I literally felt like I was doing a jail sentence. And it didn't even register to me until the day I was set free. And like tears to my eyes right now. It was the biggest aha moment of my life. And even if I go broke doing this now, I'll go broke a free man. It's insane to me. Like I can't even put it into words. But to make my own future now, it takes my breath away. It does.
So barbecue wasn't the only path that was presented to you in your illustrious life while you were welding and building your career and your family around that. You also had a deep interest in exotic animals, so much so it brought you into this dark netherworld of this stuff that you told me about like years before the Tiger King, and everything you told me about your experience, it was way better than the Tiger King. Like, at the minute that Tiger King aired, I thought to myself, geez, there should be a show about what Mel has told me about. So tell us a little bit about that aspect of your life and where it is now.
100%. So this is one of the parts of the origin story of Buddha and myself was when we were sitting in that car, in that rental, driving out to Augusta. I told him about my hobbies. My hobbies being breeding exotic stingrays, breeding exotic fish, definitely having friends in like all kinds of exotic animal worlds, right? When you're spending $2,000 and $3,000 on one fish, you're gonna have to go to some pretty neat people and meet some pretty neat, situations, which is what I've done my entire life. I have actually a tattoo of a blood red Asian arowana. Was one of the first tattoos I had. I was 14 when I got that done, right? And I actually owned that fish when I was 15 years old. I paid $2,500 for it. I was working at Wendy's at the time, and it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. But what Buddha's referencing is some of the friends I had. They had friends that had furrier permits up in Edmonton, and I would come to a condo to purchase a fish for a couple $1,000s. And walking through their condo, their peak condo up in the top shelf of whatever downtown Edmonton, all of a sudden a baby lynx would come running out. And you'd be like, oh my God, there is a lynx cub in your apartment. And they'd be like, yeah, I got a buddy with a furrier permit. This is, there'd be a chimpanzee in a spare bedroom. There'd be the craziest things you've ever seen. Entire, like, turtle ponds set up in a penthouse suite, right? Downtown Edmonton. It was crazy. The stuff that I've seen and the stuff I still see on a regular basis with my animal hobby is wild. It's absolutely incredible. But the Tiger King was the first time I ever seen that brought to light. And you guys do it so much different than we do down here. You guys can actually have legal, like, lion cubs and stuff. It's insanity. But yeah. To see the things that I've seen.
I think he's in jail. I'm not sure that's. I mean, but it's crazy. I mean, it's watching you or thinking about you and your personality and navigating that kind of world with that personality. I mean, again, it's another one of those fly on the wall moments. So we'll have to save, all the deep down stories for later episodes, and maybe eventually when we have our own YouTube, series, animated series about your prior life.
Yes.
Again, that's what you should just follow me around. I come up with all the winning ideas, or at least a lot of ideas. Some of them can be executed into winning ideas. So, we've skirted around this a lot. We've touched on these major sort of touch points in your life and how you're getting there. And we're going to get to the barbecue here in a minute. But we keep saying when you started your family, you haven't really told us much about your family. Tell us about your beautiful wife and daughters and anything else that, if there may be illegitimate children out there that you want to mention now, that might be a good time to do so.
There's at least one. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But my wife, Lisa, I met her when she was 17, and we were working together at Wendy's, and I was with somebody else at the time, but we, I don't know. It is what it is. We hit it off. Whatever. Me and my girlfriend had broke up, and we, had a few house parties together, and, in the Canadian way, right? We knocked boots a couple times, and then we found ourselves in a relationship. Things went astray. We didn't see each other again until I'd say like 3-4 years later. In Edmonton, there was a place in West Edmonton Mall, which was the biggest mall in the world at the time. They had a place called Rum Jungle, which was the biggest nightclub in like all of Western Canada.
Really, you had us at Rum Jungle.
It was crazy. It was nuts. And I knew the bouncer. He was a big Samoan with one lazy eye. And I knew him from a taco joint on whatever. So he'd give me...
Samoan as in the...
He was Hawaiian. He was a massive
Not
Hawaiian.
the cookie you get from Girl
No,
Scouts.
he was a
I mean, I
massive-
thought we may have been talking about your animated series and creating these unique characters.
This
so.
gentleman was a huge Hawaiian gentleman that they had brought in to be a bouncer. And I knew him from a taco joint on White Ave, which is a very eclectic... I grew up there. I spent some time on the streets, actually, on White Ave. We'll get into that another time. But White Ave was a very cool place for me, and I had met him before he became a bouncer. So he would give me the VIP treatment when I was at this club. So I would walk in there a bit like a boss, which was nice.
Yeah.
And sitting in that VIP... looking down, and there was Lisa, and I hadn't seen her in a couple of years, and I was like, "Hey, baby, like, what's going on? I'm fresh out of the kennel, right? We're not with the old lady anymore and stuff, and
Right.
and you know, things happened, fireworks started, and we've been together, I think, 20 years now. We've been married for 13.
Yeah, what led to the tumultuousness of the... You saw her, knock some boots, some time off, then you got together from that spark.
Yep.
What led to the marriage proposal? How many years?
She told me to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, that I could
So
believe
we were
that.
together for quite
I
a
could
while.
believe that, yeah.
And she was like, I am done with your sideways shenanigans and the sideshow that you bring. I am only going to sign off on this bullshit anymore if you put a ring on my finger. And that Christmas I proposed to her. And it brought a ton of tears to her eye, and we had an amazing Christmas. That Christmas was like X-rated, let me tell you. It was fantastic. It was a great Christmas. And then we began our life together as a married couple, whatever. And then we found out that there was a huge chance she couldn't have kids.
Okay.
So we were trying very hard. We were going to do the UID or the IUD or whatever they call it. We did all kinds of therapies and blah, blah, blah. And finally, we just gave up. When we said, you know, we can't do this crazy therapy. The pills, like, just ravaged her. They were brutal.
Right.
And finally, we were like, you know what? Fuck it, right? We're gonna get 3 months into Mexico. I'm going to buy a Camaro. And we're going to just be, you know, double income, no kids. We're going to be a couple of dinks. And we're going to love life. And it is what it is. And this was November that we finally said, we're done. We're not going to try anymore, whatever. That December, getting ready for my company Christmas party, and I'm loaded. A couple of the boys from shop are there. We're all drinking heavy. We're getting ready for the Christmas party. And she's like, hey, I need to talk to you in front of the Christmas tree. And she pulls me aside and she's like, guess what? I'm pregnant. And it leveled me.
Wow.
Like you have never seen. Half of it was like, there goes my fucking Camaro. There goes my Texas, like everything.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it was like, holy shit. We gave up on everything and now it happened. Like this is, and now.
It's a great life lesson. Though,
buddy,
you know?
I am so blessed every day. And Emily she's a straight up gangster. She's eight years old and she's running the tables on us both. She's so smart, so clever. I'm absolutely blessed. And now we've got Scarlett. Scarlett came again, you know, we couldn't have her. So she was a miracle baby.
Right.
She ran like, I think 28 hours labor to have her. It was nuts.
Is that it for the Schmillers, or are you going to try?
I
for
try
a
and sneak one past
man?
the goalie all the time, man. But she's on point. She does not want to have, because she's, I don't know, in her 30s, right? She's not into having another one. But I'm positive number 3 would be the boy.
Right.
But it is what it is, right?
Well,
so
as soon as you stop caring about it, that's what it's going to happen.
Exactly.
That's what we've learned.
So, if we have any wine sponsors that follow us, y'all could send us a case of,
The old
You know.
Shampipple. The old Shampipple.
I
White
just
dog.
need some help getting one past the goalie. That's it, and then we'll see. Maybe there's another Schmiller in the works. But that puts us where we're at, and I'm every day. It's so hard. I have to tell you right now, being on the road, doing this barbecue thing on the road, it's so hard. I watched the Christmas recital today on my phone, and like even now, it's.
Well, I mean, that's a great segue. So we've ducked and weaved through your childhood,
Yeah.
your family life, your first career, sort of the emotional toll it took on you to walk away from that, and the vulnerability that you've shown to pour into this new life, this new career that you have. So let's talk about that. What was the genesis? What have you done, and where are you going?
So, the one thing I noticed was the day I decided to switch to barbecue. Once I started creating content, starting to cater, I built my own pit, right? So, catering on my own pit was a thing right out of the gate. Before I even had a coat of paint on it, I was already booking gigs. People in my neighborhood were very excited to see it. I noticed that I had a ton more time with my family. And that was a huge selling feature for me to keep going and doing what I was doing.
Right.
Was that I had time to be home with the kids, focus more on family, focus more on what was important. When I was welding, I'd come home, get food started for Instagram, do whatever I could. I'd fall asleep at the table.
Right.
Right? By the time it was ready
Takes
to
a
eat,
toll. Takes a
I
toll.
was
Being a
tired.
parent is stressful enough.
I was bagged, man.
Yeah.
I was so bagged. So now I'm up. I'm awake. I'm able to take them to school sometimes. I'm able to pick them up. It's an absolute godsend, this whole being on my own.
Well, the community has certainly adopted you. Fire in the hole is a big thing. I know you've trademarked that.
Yeah.
See people always giving you fire in the holes on social media. I know you're working hard at YouTube. What's next? What are you pivoted to with social media other than this wonderful podcast?
This awesome podcast, man. This is. I'm hoping this takes off. I really love and appreciate all the support that everyone's given us. We have tons of massive guests coming up. It's going to be a landslide. We're changing the game. We're changing the barbecue podcast face. We're trying to bring a real world aspect to this with our guests and everything else. For me, I think the next thing is going to be TV. I'm really going to focus on maybe trying to nail a few TV spots down, and then focusing more on my catering gigs, and then just doing brand content. Brand content is a big thing for me now.
It's what you have. There's no better spokesperson than you. You've got an awesome hype machine. The little bit you did for the cigars that I released earlier this year was, amazing. I was traveling when those dropped, and you went out of your way to create this whole thing. And that was what you did for your buddy and your co-host, and what you do professionally. One thing I know from creating and doing sponsored posts is sometimes, even though you're getting paid, and sometimes it feels like a job, and you never. That it's never conveyed for you. It's always a natural part of your life, and you're really good at it. And you have a compelling story, and I really want to tell you thank you for sharing this part of your journey with me, with us, and with the podcast universe.
Well, thank you very much, brother. That's one thing that I hope always conveys, is that every day that I get to do this barbecue thing, whether it be with brands or whether it be with the podcast or whether it be with whatever catering, it's one more day that I'm not in the same shtick that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful every single day that I get to do this, travel and see people like you and spend time in your house, spend time in other places that I would never see before. And I am grateful every single fucking day to go out and do these amazing things and eat these amazing meals that I never would have ever dreamed.
Yeah, we ate well this week.
We should. We ate well this.
We
We
ate
ate
well
like
this
Elvis
week.
fucking Presley this week. Is what we did.
Yeah.
It's
Sans
been
the peanut butter sandwiches.
it's been insane.
Yeah.
Oh, Snake River Farms, lobster anywhere. We ate stone crabs fresh out of the bay. It's been nuts, man. It's been.
It's been good. It's going to be difficult when you leave tomorrow. It'll be hard not to fill the space that you fill with your personality, your stories, this conversation, but with the food and the cooking.
I miss
and,
you already,
just
bro.
life.
I miss you already.
Yeah. Well, love you, baby.
Love you too, brother.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to After the Cook. This was another amazing episode. We got to know everything about this guy, this amazing backstory. Make sure to follow us on all the social media channels at After the Cook. Subscribe, do all the things. And until the next time,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it, baby.